Welcome to Let's Talk Possibility, episode number 46, on the 10th of September 2012. Today we're talking to Lisa Despevel, aka Adventure Lisa, and really what adventures are possible when you step outside your front door. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to Let's Talk Possibility, where we explore ideas, challenge thinking, and inspire action. I'm your host, Talana Simpson, and with me is my co-host, Jonathan Dix.
Hi, good evening.
A 13th century poet, Rumi, once said, when starting out on an adventure, don't talk to someone who has never left the house. Well, tonight we're talking adventure, and with us is Lisa Despevel.
Good
How's
evening.
it, Lisa?
Hi, Talana.
Who not only spends as much time as possible leaving her house, but is also the go-to girl for adventure racing. So we thought you'd be the best person to talk to about adventure tonight. You've competed in a lot of events, a lot of them very long distance, over 250 kilometers. You're very active. You enjoy running, orienteering, off-road, ultra marathons, yoga, gym, step aerobics, even pole dancing.
That's
yeah,
right.
I'm quite excited about that, I won't lie.
And we were talking also about, like, you and I have this goal of learning to do handstands. So all sorts of active things. You're also a freelance journalist and an author. You wrote a book.
Yes, I co-authored a book on adventure racing with Jacques Marais. In fact, it was a couple of years ago, and we're looking at doing an update probably in the next year or two. Yep.
That's cool. And then you also own and editor of South Africa's adventure racing website, ar.coza.
Yep, that's right. ar.co.za. It's been around for 11 and a half years now. And pretty much when I started getting into adventure racing, there was nothing. You know, also, 11 years ago, the internet wasn't what it is right now. And being involved in the sport, I didn't know what events were coming up. So I thought, well, let me put up this website and I'll add a calendar so people can find out about the sport and what's happening. And now, 11 years later, there must be, over 100 articles on the sport, event calendars, race reports, and it's very much the hub of adventure racing in South Africa and a great resource used by international people as well.
Yeah. Also, and then your latest project is called Feet, which is an evening of time-limited talks by adventurers. That we're going to pick your brain about some more. But maybe just to start the discussion tonight, I mean, I'd love to know more about what the word adventure actually means for you.
For me, most things, in fact, are actually an adventure. So whether it's pole dancing is an adventure and learning a new skill and using your body.
I don't know about that. Pole dancing, pretty scary to me.
It is scary. That's it exactly. Gymnastic, acrobatic, it is quite scary. So whether it's that or trying anything new, in fact, that's actually an adventure. So sure, in our strict definition, we look at climbing and mountaineering and kayaking and paddling and a lot of the off-road physical disciplines as traditional adventure. But in my book, I actually count everything really as an adventure. No matter what you undertake, if it's new and it's a learning experience and you've never done it before, that's an adventure.
Yeah, and for me, a part of adventure is going to a place I've never been. And I'm just not sure of what's going to happen. So for me, the adventure is the spontaneity of the experience that I'm going to have. Whatever comes.
Yeah, some important points there for me. I mean, doing something you've never done before.
Yeah.
Pushing your boundary out of your comfort zone. It can be cooking a really wacky meal.
Going on a workshop.
Absolutely. So I love that. I think it's going to mean different things for different people, but trying something different is...
So it's almost like maybe a way of looking at things.
Yeah.
As part of being an adventurer is having the mindset of...
I think the mindset's important, though, because how else are you going to get outside your house? How else are you going to push yourself? And to actually try that next adventure.
It could even be going on holiday. You know, you get timeshare and some people are quite happy to go to the same place, the same town. They rent even if it's not timeshare and you just go to the same place every year for your annual holiday. For me, there's no adventure in that.
If you've got kids, it's easy, but...
For sure. But remember, children are so adaptable. You can take them on sailing around the world for a year and learning languages in different countries and stopping off in different places. It all depends what the children grow up with. So if they've grown up with the same thing all the time, they will still adapt to that adventure. And many people do it, and they're brave. They're brave to do those type of things, but there's no reason why not.
So with the understanding then that's what adventure means to you, that it's doing something you haven't done before. And how do you start then on an adventure? What would be a starting place? Because there's so many things I've never done before. I wouldn't know
where to start.
And there's some stuff I really don't want to do, though.
but it's fine. Then you don't do them. For me, like looking at something as an adventure, I've got a list of things and places that I'd like to go to. And it might take me 10 years, 20 years to get around to some of those things, which is also fine. There's no time frame on it. Even for me, I'd like to go to South America and learn Spanish. That's an adventure. So I've got it on my list, and that's one I'm hoping to tick off next year. But it may be just to go walking. It may be any of those things that you wish you want to do. You've actually got to put them on a list. So for me, choosing your adventure and deciding on something is first starting with maybe a place you want to go, and then maybe a way in which you'd want to go to that place. So it may be a cruise, it may be riding your bicycle, it may be walking from the airport where you arrive in some city and walking out to a magnificent 7 natural wonders of the world. It could be anything like that, but you've really got to have, it's got to be something you want to do. For me, an adventure is not about something, well, it sounds cool and everyone else goes bungee jumping off the bridge down the Cape, so I must do it. That's just doing something because everyone else is doing it. An adventure's got to be something you want to do because you want to do it.
Is it important that you write it down?
In a way, because you can get distracted. You get caught up in work and you get caught up in commitments, and then there's finances and you can't get leave. And sometimes we keep pushing those things away from us. So if you have a list, it could be an electronic list on your computer or something, or pictures in a folder of the place that you want to go.
Yeah.
But it really helps to cement that that's something you want to do. And you don't forget about it. It's not just, oh, well, I've got kids and school fees and all those kind of things. I'm never going to get to do it, so I must just forget about it. But it stays in your heart.
So part of the adventure is really a strong commitment to yourself to follow through.
Correct.
People have grand ideas all the time.
Yeah.
Myself included. And follow through is the most important part, really.
Correct. And you don't necessarily, there's going to be so many things, you just watch any of the National Geographic channels and you see these wonderful places and wonderful things. You think, oh, I wish I could go there. But there's going to be maybe hundreds if you look at pulling your resources off those kind of lists. So maybe it's a matter of putting those things down and then, you cast your eye over it every now and again and say, you know what, maybe this is the year that I'm going to do yoga classes. Maybe this is the year that I'm going to do that. And for me, it's one of the things I've been toying with, where you commit to something, and I love my dance classes or I love something, and then 3 or 4 years go by and I've done that. And I think, well, maybe every year I should change those things that I'm doing just for fun. So maybe I spend a year of hip-hop classes and a year where I focus on mountain biking instead of, do mountain biking events and activities instead of all the trail running stuff. And maybe another year is a paddle year, and just change it, because it gets hard to juggle all those things you really like to do. So you've got to just swap it around just because.
Yeah, and focus on one thing every now and again.
Yeah.
And I think in another way, something you wrote somewhere, I was reading about how to come up with an adventure, or just to start, is to look at what other people are doing. That may inspire you. And I think that's what, for me, feet is about.
Very much.
So tell us a bit, how do you describe feet?
Okay, well, the sort of concise version is, so FEAT, first of all, stands for Fascinating Expedition and Adventure Talks. It's actually an acronym, but it's such a great word, came to me in a flash, because FEAT is also a physical accomplishment, a challenge. Yes. So FEAT is very much a platform for South African adventurers, and I say South African, we'll talk about other countries just now. So for South African adventurers, just to let people around the world know, and locally in South Africa, to let them know what people are doing. And you can't believe the incredible stuff that South Africans are doing all the time. You hear about the Everest season, or you hear about some big conquest of something, or a big run or something, but you can't believe the normal people who have 8 to 5 working jobs and families and children, who are going out and running and walking and cycling and paddling and mountaineering and traveling and just enjoying things. So FEAT is very much about that, and showcasing, so both with news on the website throughout the year, and then also with a one-night evening event. And that's the FEAT that's coming up on Thursday, the 4th of October. And for this event, there's 9 speakers, a mix of different disciplines. They've each got only 7 minutes to speak about a specific aspect of their adventure. And not all of them are adventurers where they've done multi-month through the jungles of the Amazon type thing. Some of them are aligned to the adventure realm. So one of the speakers is Rob Thomas, and he's a mountain rescue guy. He does a lot of training, a lot of rescuing. So they're not all these massive, big, unattainable expeditions for a majority of people.
So everything from small to to the big. Because then I remember seeing, I think I came to the first time, and I just had so much fun. I mean, you had a guy on a BMX that he just never got off his BMX. He did all these tricks. He got onto the stage, around the stage, and jumped over people and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just on his
The level of
bicycle.
control there alone.
And it's just
Yeah.
just to see that from my own eyes was like, wow.
I've got some adventure examples for you. So you're
Yes,
talking
give us
about
some more.
sort of having the inspiration to be able to do something. One of the feat speakers coming up for now is, in fact, my mom. And because she's my mom, I would be disinclined to put her on the stage because she's my mom. And everyone said to me, like my friends saying, no, you've got to put your mom on. So the story behind what my mom did is that she watched the feat talks from the Cape Town event. And she said to me, you know what, I need an adventure. Now, my mom is not a runner. She's not a mountain biker or a paddler or anything like that. And so she said, you know what, she needs an adventure. And she wants to do something as a physical challenge. And two of the speakers that I had, they were speaking together, they did a sea to summit adventure in South America. So they had cycled and then they climbed up a volcano, and that was an adventure that they both wanted to do. So my mom said that she wanted to do something like that. So I said to her, well, that's their adventure. You need to find your adventure that means something to you. So she'd had a yearning to do something in Japan for quite a long time. And she looked around and decided, no, Japan was a bit too expensive for flights and to be there. And in her meanderings on the internet, she found this thing about Camino de Santiago. So it's the traditional pilgrimage route in Spain. There's lots of various routes, but this is like a traditional one that she got fixated on. That week, she started walking. Within a couple of months, she had a backpack. We loaded up with mealie meal bags. She started walking. With 6 months after deciding that she needed adventure, she went off to Spain. Now, my mom won't go to some restaurants because she doesn't like their toilets. And my mom went off with just her backpack, no luggage, anything, off to Spain and did this walk. So for me, that's quite incredible. And it's sort of an inspiration from seeing and listening and getting ideas from what other people have done, that you create your own adventure. And so you look at that and you think, well, 6 weeks, it's quite a long time. I can't get leave or whatever else. And then you sort of downscale it to seeing, get out your house and what can you do outside your door. And one of my adventure racing friends a couple of months ago decided that he wanted to do and see how many Joburg City parks could he run through in 6 hours. And his normal trail running route goes to Emmys and Delta and Malva Koppies and that. So he thought, well, he'll expand that. So he looked on a street map, checked out the parks and planned this route. He did 44 parks in 6 hours running around
There are
Joburg.
44
Around
parks in
Joburg. I
Johannesburg.
didn't know that many.
There's more than 44. That was just in 6 hours. And in fact, it took him like 6.5 hours in total to get home, and he knocked off 47 parks in total. So that's just a local adventure. Alex Harris, preparing for Freedom Challenge, he decided to cycle from a parking lot at the bottom of Northcliffe Hill to the top and wanted to see how long it would take him to do 30 repeats like that. And he did it in 11 and a half hours or something like that. So there's a local adventure, not even leaving your suburb, that you can do.
Awesome.
And that definitely counts as an adventure.
So it sounds a bit like also, so there was theme in those two is the challenge. And,
Yes.
and coming up with a bit of planning around it. Well, maybe not
Definitely.
so much the Freedom Challenge, but you had to do, the other guy had to do obviously some research to find all the parks
Yeah.
and then plan the route.
Yeah, and that's part of the plan.
So
I think the
that's-
planning is part of the adventure.
Yeah,
Sure,
that
you can
is.
just
It's
go, I guess,
researching
randomly.
and learning and
Correct. And it's discovering, thinking, oh, that looks like fun. I'd like to try that. That could be interesting. I think that's part of the adventure. And also you mentioned now about being the physical thing. I think there's a difference between adventure travel, which might be driving to a cool spot, having a look at it, getting in your car again and driving off, and the satisfaction and reward that comes from completing something physically.
Yes.
I think that's also a defining point in adventure travel, touring.
So that kind of touches in on adventure racing, because that's one of your big passions. So what is adventure racing? Because I was trying to explain to John, and I'm like, I don't actually know how to explain it. But
something that's just, I think, makes running look sedate.
Yeah, well, okay, so adventure racing incorporates a bunch of disciplines. all off-road disciplines, and it depends on the season and the location as to what can be incorporated. So your fundamentals: mountain biking, trail running. So trail running, hiking, trekking, that any kind of foot thing. So that's going to be your fundamental. Then you start adding in paddling, and if you on the coast, you can do sea kayaking.
Yeah.
If you somewhere where there's rivers, you can get some whitewater paddling or flat river paddling or dam paddling. So you start getting that range. Combination, yeah. And if you're in a snowy place, you can do some skiing. So it really just depends on where you are. The thing that ties it all together is navigation. And that's really the defining point between adventure racing and, say, off-road triathlons, like the Xterra series.
Okay.
And adventure racing, so we range from 25Ks, which are wonderful family fun events, up to
25Ks.
25Ks, easy.
The thing is, snappers along. My word.
And as I say, like for adventure racing with a sprint race, you've got, say, 5Ks of running, 20Ks of mountain biking. Come on, 7-year-old children do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
scares me.
very doable, very doable. It might take them a while, but they can certainly do it. So that's kind of your, and I don't want to say starting point, but it's like your 5K fun run version of adventure racing, and all the way up to multi-day 500-kilometer expedition races. So as I say, adventure racing, navigation ties it all in, map and compass navigation, not GPS navigation. And so then we've got another skill and another discipline where navigation is not just a cute little addition to the sport. It's actually your key to getting from A to B.
Part, yeah.
Correct. And it's also your strategic part, is who's making the best decisions, who's making more mistakes than the other one. And so it's not necessarily...
Do you always race as teams then?
Correct.
It's
so
never
that's
as an individual?
No. So that's also another defining point, is that it's a team sport. Sometimes there's pairs, but definitely your longer distance events, it's kind of a tradition and a safety factor of having 4 in a team, because you're often in locations that can be quite remote. So if something happens to someone, at least 1 can stay with the injured person and 2 can go for help. And that's the sort of, it used to be 5-person teams actually originally, like 15 years ago.
Like rifles or something like that?
No.
In case you're going through national parks and there's lions and what have you?
No, and that's one of the things, is because you, in that kind of environment, you can't go through those like game reserves where there's big 5. So certainly we've done game reserves, and you go around a corner and you face, like you're looking under the legs of a giraffe or something like that, but no predators kind of thing. Yeah. So that's adventure racing. So team, navigation, multiple disciplines. For me, the real fun with adventure racing starts after 24 hours. If it's less than 24 hours, you don't have the stresses aren't starting to come into play. You're not getting that bit of...
So stress is fun for adventure, Lisa.
But again, it's a physical challenge, and it's the emotional challenge and the mental challenge. And when you get to that finish
Can
line...
you stretch yourself to actually still work together as a team after 24 hours when it's really starting to get tough?
That's it, yeah.
I've got a question here from Chris on the chat. He talks about your unique or different adventure that you've heard of that is probably easy or doable for your most average adventure person. So someone who's perhaps starting out, what would be something that they can actually just participate in? It's not multi-days perhaps while they're still looking to develop.
Oh, there's tons of stuff. Okay, first I would say to them, what is their favorite discipline? Okay. So are they into biking, or are they into foot, or are they into paddling, or so what is their thing? And your main two are going to be foot or biking is probably the main two. So once you've decided that, then you start looking around. So a basic adventure really would be entering an event.
So like a normal trail run.
Normal trail run.
Like that.
Plenty. And so if we're talking foot, loads of trail runs all over the place, ranging from 6Ks through to ultra distance races.
Sure.
And nice thing to enter, get your confidence. So enter something shorter, enter something easier, get your confidence and think, oh, not too bad. Remember as well, when you're crossing over into a discipline, maybe you don't have that much experience running. It's like starting from, whether you're starting road running, you're starting anything else, you've got to get that fitness before you start undertaking things that are a little bit longer.
Like anything program.
Exactly. So, and for me as well, although I run trail, I do orienteering, I run road most days of the week. And if you're starting out, that's what I recommend. Start running on the road. If you really haven't done anything, start running on the road.
Just get out your front door.
Out your front door, exactly. Like and a run-walk program, run for 1 minute, walk for a minute, run for a minute, walk for a minute. You start changing those ratios as you start to feel more comfortable and get a bit fitter. So that would be the start. The next one, once you kind of managing to run around the block a couple of times, then look online and see, well, what trail running events are there? And enter a 5K, 6K, 7K trail run. And remember as well, like we say trail run, you don't have to run. You can walk as well. Go to Suikerbos Run in the south of Joburg. It's beautiful.
There's some
You can
serious
walk.
hills there, I know.
Yeah, there are. They are. And
Emphasis on driving.
and you know what? I walk those hills too.
Yeah.
I don't run them. I actually walk them.
Park, though, so
gorgeous.
Yeah.
So that I'd say, pick your discipline, see what catches your fancy, what do you want to do, and enter an event. That's definitely your first place. The sort of next step in adventure for me is where you start to create your own self-organized events. So, after you've entered a couple of events, you've maybe progressed up the distances, and then you decide my big dream is going to cycle from or run from Joburg to the Zimbabwe border at Bite Bridge. Whatever. Maybe you've got a cousin that lives in some funny town and you're going to
You're
go
gonna
run
visit him
there.
by walking there.
Exactly. You can walk there, you can run there. And I mean, even I've done things at home where I'll go visit my uncle, but I go run to my uncle's place, and it's only 15 Ks or so. Have some cold drink there and then run home, or sometimes I get him to drive me home. It just depends how I'm feeling. So, like for me, like that's an adventure. I put on my hydration pack. I've got a destination in mind, and maybe that's also an element of adventure, is where you have a destination. So it's not just how many laps you're going to do, or I'm running 5 minutes a K now and I want to run 4 minutes a K. It's about, well, I'm going to go run to my friend's place and go visit. That's an adventure.
So a follow-on question from that is can you suggest any clubs to join that would expose people to people? Because obviously I think all well and good, like stepping out your front door, but it is nice if you're going with someone and you're often more motivated, and it can be safer in today's world.
Definitely.
So
That's
anyway, clubs or recommendation how you could meet other people and get to know about.
Correct. All right, again, the first thing is pick your discipline.
Yes.
So what's your favorite thing? So if you are, running's very easy. We've got hundreds of running clubs around the country. That's always your best place to start. Trail running, we're going to start seeing the formation of trail running clubs. I certainly think it's coming, and some running clubs are dabbling in it. A lot of it.
I know that. I mean, my colleague does some evening trails around golf courses.
Yes, the kinetic.
So they go to Observatory Golf Course or Parkview. They've got headlamps.
Correct.
And off they go.
The
for
kinetic.
Like, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. I think it's brilliant.
Awesome.
The kinetic gear people, in fact, they organise those once a month.
Yeah.
Yes, and wow, what a great place to start to get into the vibe.
I mean, I know in Cape Town they've got the full moon walk up Lion's Head.
Yes. And you know, you find all this
reasonable,
stuff on the web. It's a bit of searching around to find what's there, but all of these things are definitely there and accessible. So first, pick your discipline. Once you decide what you like foot or you like bike or you like paddle, then you find clubs in your discipline. It takes a while to start to get to know people, and that's the finding friends to play with is definitely the most is challenging, and it takes a while of really hopping from one person to the next and just hooking up, and it's not always
find someone you
correct
gel with.
Correct. And it's not always waiting for an invitation to come to you. Sometimes you have to put that invitation out there, and within your running club or community say, hey, you know what, I really like to go run Braamfontein-Spruit. Anyone want to come with me? Because there's other people just like you who are waiting for someone to give them the invitation. So it definitely is.
It's a bit of organisation skills also comes into it.
Yeah, don't be shy. Don't be shy, and don't wait for it to come to you, because then you'll be waiting sometimes for a long time. My club's Adventure Racing Club. Our focus obviously is on adventure racing and orienteering. We've got a small running section, and we've got a group that runs from Pirates in Joburg, in Greenside, every Saturday morning at 7:30, and they go and run Braamfontein-Spruit. You don't have to be a club member. You can just rock up and come and join us. So there's stuff like that around. There's lots.
Just you have to go out there and look for.
Bit of searching and you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, and ask people. So if you go to a running club and you go to one of the time trial evenings, which happen, there's like every night of the week, pretty much some clubs got a time trial, and you just start mingling, you're talking to people, and you say to them, hey, do you know if anyone's like running some trails regularly? Can I join anyone? You're going to find people. They're around.
So we've spoken a lot then around adventure, just in general, adventure racing, what adventure is, to get out of there. And I think what's come out is for you, a lot of the adventure is, besides the physical activity, but what you learn about yourself through doing it. What are some of the things that you've learned that you've been able to apply then in other areas of your life that specifically you think has helped you learn or develop from your team sports?
I think I can give you a good example. In fact, my first adventure race, I had been up to that stage a road runner. I was playing provincial underwater hockey. Don't ask about that one.
Water hockey.
Yeah, don't worry about that. At university. And
Nice.
a friend of mine had gotten the new issue of Runner's World. He phones me. He says, there's something in here you'll absolutely love. It's this adventure racing thing. The sport was brand new in the country, and there was like a promotional thing that the sport was coming up. So I phoned a friend and phoned a friend and phoned a friend and a friend of a friend and a fiance of a friend. And I had a team. And I was the navigator for our team. There's also not that many women navigators. Don't know why, because women are really good at this stuff. And
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. And we go into this race. It's in the Drakensberg. I had a borrowed bicycle from Linden Cycles. I'd been on 2 outrides with the Joburg Mountain Bike Club. The first ride was a 60k ride. It was my first time on a bicycle in 14 years. And this was my preparation on bicycle for this race. So Linden Cycles very kindly lent me a bike. No shocks. In those days, we didn't even really know about mountain bikes. I didn't know about cycle shorts. I didn't think I'd be able to pee for the next couple of years after that ride on corrugated rocks and roads and everything. Anyway, we go up into the mountains, and I had this sudden, and I say sudden because it was, this overwhelming feeling of liberation and freedom and competence, that I had this map, and we had the team, and we all got along well. And here we were able to choose where we wanted to go anywhere. And navigation has definitely always been, and I say like almost my favorite discipline. I'm a runner, and that's my physical discipline, but my catch in adventure racing is the navigation. And for me, I kind of use a lot of life's lessons or life's experiences, all comes back to navigation. And when you're out there in the mountains and you make your own choice, and it comes back down to anything you do is your own choice. And so with navigation, you can choose where to go. You can navigate around obstacles. You can flow like a river around rocks. It's all those sort of things. And for me, that's very much what my lessons and learning from adventure racing has been. It comes back to that time and time again. And also your interactions with your teammates. A good one for you with teammates is, adventure racing brings out the best and the worst in people. I always recommend people never race with your partners, friends you've known since you were 2 years old, because the person you know in your environment and have a braai or whatever else is sometimes a different person to the person at 2 o'clock in the morning after 48 hours of racing, and they're tired and it's cold and all that. And you don't want to see your husband griping and complaining and wanting to sleep and being pathetic when he's been a strong pillar in your life in other ways.
Yeah,
okay, so enough on that topic. All right, so there's a thing that, it's a lot about attitude, is that we choose to go into these races. We choose to go into these extreme environments and physical and emotional correct. We choose to go into that. And for me, when I'm in a race, I'm not dreaming about burgers or movies or something else. I'm there, and I love being in that environment. And even if it's hard, I still love it, because that's what I've chosen. I've chosen to be there. And it's important to remember that. So I also say to teammates, if you are cold and if you are tired and you want to sleep, I don't really care too much about that, because we've chosen to be in this environment. And your attitude, and like, you can be tired, sure, you can be hungry, you can be all of those things, but how you exhibit it, you can say, oh geez, I could eat a horse, and that's your indication that you're hungry. But if you start to sulk and you won't move and you sit on the ground, and how you exhibit those things, that's all about choice, and it's about attitude. And you see a lot of it in adventure racing, and often your hard times is when you see those wonderful gem special qualities that warm your heart over to people. You see those kind of things coming out in those conditions. You don't see that normally in everyday life, and I think you get to know that person that little bit more. And of all my teammates over the years, there's something special that remains with me about each of them, because I've seen some special quality that I would never have seen in normal life. Yeah.
Wow. So how can people get hold of you? If they'd like, what's the easiest way?
Go to ar.co.za or feet.sa.co.za, and my email address is on both those websites. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's been quite an adventure talking to you.
It's been a little exhausting, I won't lie. 250K, 5-day, 7-day trails.
And
Wow.
have we got a minute to put that into perspective for you?
I
Yes.
like golf. 4 hours in the golf course. Awesome.
So, okay, so think about, here's a golf example for you. 18 holes. And I don't know how many kilometers 18 holes is.
It depends on the course, but you're probably averaging about 6.2 to 6.5 Ks.
So some people say, oh my word, 18 holes, 6.2 Ks, you're going to be crazy. But an 18-hole golf course is made up of hole 1, hole 2, hole 3, hole 4. And a 500-kilometer race is made up of a 20K hike, a 40K mountain bike, a 10K paddle, a 30K mountain bike, a 30K hike. And once you join all those numbers together, you've got a 500K race. And it's 500K is not done. It's not a flat-out sprint. It's done. You've got 4 days, 5 days. If it's an expedition race, you may have 10 days. It's only 50Ks a day. You can do it with your eyes closed. Almost. As long as you're looking at the map. Look at the map.
Fair
Look at the map. Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to tell us about your adventure and what you're planning to do next, or to just post some more questions, please go to our Facebook page, or you can tweet us on LT Possibility. I think the only thing I left to say is to don't just think about it, but go and
Yeah.
do it.